Today I'm talking about how to free yourself from guilt. And I figured there's going to be a really quick YouTube live. If you want to eliminate and free yourself from guilt, just don't do stupid shit. There, done. All right, well, you guys have a great rest of the day, and we'll meet next week. I'm joking. I'm joking, some of you, because here's the thing. I can tell you don't do stupid stuff. You want to know what, though? We all do. I do, my kids do, team members do, every human being on the planet. We do stuff that we later on look back and go, okay, I'm regretting it. So there's a couple things that I want to go over with regards to guilt. So there's two types of guilt. There are two types of guilt that you have. The first type of guilt that you have is natural human guilt. If a child hurts an animal by accident, it's an emotional response. It's an emotional thing that occurs. And you, as a doctor of psychology, I sit there and go, well, of course, if you harm something, you're going to have guilt. Now, that's emotion. There's also learned guilt. There is also guilt that you learn. Like a kid doesn't know that, it's not socially acceptable to run around in the park naked. A kid will do it. A kid won't think about that. And then you get to a certain age and you learn that's wrong. So there's learned guilt. So there's emotional guilt and there's learned guilt. We have techniques like mental and emotional release. That really helps with emotional guilt. Learned guilt, though, there's a little bit more to it. And there are some really important tips, first of all, that I think will help you. Number one, to avoid guilt. And number two, how do you release guilt? Okay, so first of all, I need to teach you how to create guilt so you can avoid doing it in the future. So one of the ways that learned guilt gets locked into the unconscious is that you learn something new. And instead of taking the learning and applying it to now and the future, you look at the past and you go, I should have, and then fill in the blank. Let me say that again. This is really, really important. Learned guilt as an adult is created by learning something new. And instead of applying it now into the future, you look at the past. In the Hawaiian culture, there's a saying called ano ai. Ano is seed and ai means to eat it. The Hawaiian language had 7 consonants and 5 vowels. And so words had to do double, triple, quadruple meaning. And the metaphor of the ano ai is that like a seed can begin to grow rapidly. Some seeds will begin to sprout right away. Some seeds take years. Some trees that bear fruit, they take years for the fruit to come out. And that's why the Hawaiians use the term ano ai, because some lessons take time to grow and some lessons can come right away. And they come either really quickly or in the future, not in the past. So if I gave you a whole bunch of seeds and was like, these are going to give you the best, tangerine. You're going to have the best tangerines from these seeds. Well, Western culture, you'll get the seeds and go, damn it, if I had just planted these a year ago, I would have tangerines by now, or however long it takes. But you wouldn't do that. That would just be ridiculous. What you'll do is you take the seeds, and if you want the tangerines, you plant them, and you nurture it, and you cultivate it, and it grows. So how do you avoid learned guilt as an adult? Number one, when you learn something new, which you're going to learn all the time, stop applying it to the past. You didn't have those seeds in the past. You were doing the best you could. Plant them in the now and work on that in the future. Next is a technique that I studied to become a doctor. It's called Hoponopono. I'm not talking about the prayer. I'm talking about the actual technique that the prayer came from. And if you don't know the prayer, you don't need to go looking for it. Stick with us. There's an actual technique that I was able to validate in the research to become a doctor, that it reduces the grudge that you hold against someone. That's just speaking in plain English. And really, from a psychological standpoint, it gets rid of revenge and avoidance motivations. That's a fancy way of saying, I want to get that person back, or I want to stay away from them. I was able to validate that Ho'oponopono reduces that. And so forgiveness is the cornerstone for releasing guilt that you have from the past. So if you want to get rid of your guilt from the past, you're going to want to have a technique to do that. Now, the cool thing is our company's going to be launching a new product really soon on forgiveness. And if you don't want to wait for that, you can always go to Amazon. I got my book on Ho'oponopono that talks about forgiveness in that. It's the 5th book that I wrote. And at every single prac training, we teach the process to the group so that you're able to have a deeper level of forgiveness. And so, again, just summarizing, really simple. Number one, don't do stupid shit and then you won't have guilt. But because we're human and we do it, then when you get the lesson, stop looking at the past and start looking at the future and go, how am I going to apply this now and into the future? And if you have guilt that has been built up over years, Hoponopono is your go-to. You're going to want to either read the book or wait for us to launch this new product so you can be completely free of it. All right? Okay, have a wonderful rest of the day. Do smart things for the rest of the day. And I look forward to seeing you all next week from San Diego. Aloha.